And I would like to introduce you to someone that I'm very excited that resides in Vancouver, Canada, which you are all going to come to for the big event on August 7th, 8th, and 9th. And I would like to introduce you to Adhel Arop. And Adele, just do a wave there, let everybody know, and you can tell us where you're coming in from. She just came from having a off the flight, a little bit of a nap, and there she is. She is the creator of an amazing show called and I asked her this morning, the Kadiba Banat, Sisters in Arms. And her topic that she's going to share about today is about borderless sisterhood. Could that be a better topic to kick off these next 2 days? Oh my gosh. Now I'm going to get her to share with us the music that she's listening to, because I know that well, if I say it correctly, good on me, but Akengad by Immerhan. I listened to it twice. It was incredible. She's going to tell us about that. And I always ask people, what's something about you that people don't know? And the reason why I do that is because there's women doing incredible things. I mean, let's face it, that includes all of you. And sometimes when people, see you, they don't approach you. They think that somehow they're not sitting in the same, they're not sitting at the same table. We're all sitting at the same table today. And so we're human, we're human. People do incredible things. The human is incredible. And so just something you don't know about her, and yet she never switches her coffee drink at any restaurant that you meet her at. It's always going to be an Americana with a side of milk, and she doesn't have a sweet tooth. What? She doesn't have a sweet tooth. Okay, so please come to the stage, Adele, and say hello.
Hi, everybody. My name is Adhel Arop, and I'm coming in from Florianopolis, Brazil. I just got here, I guess, not yesterday, or I'm confused with the time. And so, yes, I am the producer and director of the Katiba Banat Sisters in Arms series, which aired on Omni, which was at a subsidiary of Rogers. And yeah, so the song she was mentioning is actually from a Bedouin group. They are desert dwellers, and it was what I listened to it almost every day because it's a 5-part series that I did, and each episode is a theme. So the first one is about displacement. The second one is about the walk. The third is training and combat. The fourth one is motherhood and more, and the fifth is catharsis. And so the number 2 was the walk, and I was really listening to it because I love that it just feels like you're riding a horse and you're just kind of like galloping through things. And this walk that these women did was about 3 months long to training camps to get their training for the Civil War. And so I was getting really inspired by sort of the feeling of going on a journey, kind of being in the unknown, the heat, and so yeah, that's kind of it. And yes, I don't have a sweet tooth, and every time I go into this coffee shop, I come in, they're like, we already know what you want. Like, yes, 1 sugar, Americano, and side of cream. I'm like, one day I'm gonna order a cappuccino, I promise, and I haven't.
Well, let's talk a little bit. Thank you so much for introducing yourself and clarifying that. So, we all get different inspirations and we all do different projects. I mean, everyone here has something that will get them out of bed no matter whether they're tired or not tired, right? And so where did the inspiration come to do such a series?
So the series actually came from a short film that I did back in 2018. I won the Story Hive short story, and I did a project called Who Am I? And I was discovering that my mom was a soldier during the Civil War, and it was initially about sort of exploring my identity and how art and fashion sort of helped me build a sense of self, especially like growing up displaced, especially growing up in Canada as an African woman. And I noticed that the story was bigger than me and bigger than sort of like the intergenerational trauma that I was trying to speak about. I found that there was a whole battalion of other women like my mom. There's 84 of them actually, the original Katiba Banat. And so I got on a mission. This has been the last 7 years of my life, actually. I went on a mission to try and find these women. And I interviewed about 25 women about their story and their experiences of going through the war, from being teenagers through motherhood and all of that. And so this is my matriarchs, right? This is my mother's, my aunts, my country. And so I did the first Canadian series in Dinka, and brought the first history of Sudan to the forefront. And I don't know if you guys know this, but South Sudan is the newest nation to join the United Nations. We got a referendum in 2011, and so yeah, I became the first person to tell this story from the perspective of the women that actually fought for the liberation of Sudan. And so I've been sort of navigating, understanding what that all means. And I called it Sisterhood, Sisters in Arms, because the story was not about them being child soldiers or about being veterans. It's about the sisterhood and the bond that they built through those experiences, and sort of the reliance that they needed to have on each other to survive, and sort of how that relationship has gone on for years. And so I brought them together, the Canadian women, into a reunion, and we shot across Canada, and we flew through like Kenya and South Sudan. And I took my mom to meet everybody. And it was honestly probably the hardest thing that I ever did in my life because of the emotional element of it all. It was so empowering just to hear their ability to sort of resist, and their ability to persevere, and sort of that sisterhood and the bond that they built. It made me stronger, but honestly, I had to let it go for a while. And so this is the first time I'm talking about it since finishing the series last year. I needed to do some healing before I could, come forward and understand sort of what I took on. And so, yeah, that's sort of a little overview.
Well, and thank you so much for sharing that. And one of the things that I appreciate about this community is just we haven't we've heard that many times where people feel very safe and it's the first time, or they're breaking ground here in the circle. So we so appreciate that. And I think it's also very important to share the transparency. Tomorrow I'm speaking about, we call it the stretch to significance. And I think when you take on a mission, whatever that is, within your community, within your family, within yourself, that there can be challenges with that. There can be emotions that rise. There can be journaling to be done. It's not unusual when people do deep dives of works like this, whether it's exhibition, whether it's art, whether it's challenge. We had another sister who had to put her whole project aside for over a year because of the nature of what her artwork was working with, and what the nature of the artwork was, because it can be triggering and it's emotional, and we are human. We are human. And sometimes there does need to be a rest period. You'll hear a lot about people that put projects, or they start books and then they move them to the corner of the desk because they need to process some of that. I've walked a woman who went through a memoir, and her story was quite considerable. And that memoir put her into therapy, because we are emotional beings, right? That's who we are by nature. So I appreciate that. And I think it's important for people to understand that it is a process, that sometimes we take on these projects and we don't know what that process is going to be until we're in it. And we're like, oh, okay, right?
That's why the last episode is called catharsis, right? Because you need the capacity to sort of purge all those emotions. And I think that in order to take on sort of these types of projects, or to like work in this sort of industry, you have to have a really good why, because it gets really difficult. And so, 7 years later, it's done. So I'm very grateful.
Oh, and we are too. We are too. Outside of the personal piece of what it took to get it done, many people here have projects that would love to see it hit the screen. Or what does it take to really put a production like that together? What are the resources that it takes to do something like that, my friend?
Oh, it took me so pretty much I was doing a lot of virtual conferences during the pandemic, and doing a lot of pitching pretty much to many, many companies. I was doing a lot of international conferences and things like that before I found my broadcaster. So I went to Banff International Media Festival, and I did like a virtual coffees and the roundtables, and I ended up getting connected to Liza actually, and she says, we women need to sit together, and she says, let me connect you, and so I ended up hosting a panel with Commissioner Rogers. And I was just asking her about herself, who are you, this and this. And she's like, and you, why are you interviewing me? Like, and you are. And I'm like, oh, I'm so glad you asked. And then so I and so we had a really nice conversation, and she says, I think I have a space for you at Omni. Um, and so I just began developing the project through them. They don't really commission that often, development, and so I think that I really got lucky because the story and the access was so necessary. But um, I had to start a company. Uh, I had to incorporate my own company. I had to learn about the business of creativity. I quit my job. I was working at an advertising company, in Canada, as a junior producer, and I was so like space cadet that I couldn't hold it down. I like $3 to my name at that point because I had to drop everything. I had to just focus. I was living at my sister's place, just doing like 10-hour conferences and things like that until um, we finally got the development deal that went into a green light. That took about, I think that was about like a 3-year timeline. We did development for 8 months. We got greenlit in June. And then September, we began production. And then we started filming across Ontario. Um, and we had to go through to Kenya, and we had to get permits and teams. And so, yeah, I bit off a whole production and had to learn about, like, it took on the business side because I really wanted to protect the narrative and protect the story to keep it pure. And so I took on a lot of um, and I had mentorship too. I had a woman named Booth, who's been working as a executive producer in the industry for like over 30 something years. And so I did a crash course and fire by baptism to learn about it. And so yeah, it went well. We actually got a distribution deal as well at the end. Our distribution company is London based called TVF. And so now it's selling across multiple territories across the world now. And it's mostly just television. Um, but I like to do more community engagement strategies. And so I was kind of telling Deb about sort of, which we'll get to later, how I'm going to roll out the project. Um, but yeah, it was definitely a big challenge because there was a lot of learning about how to run a creative business. And it's not just your creativity now, it's that you have to answer to so many people and you have all this money behind you and they're like, okay, now go. And so we had to get a team of translators, our editors in Dinka. We overcame many hurdles, but yeah, we got the distribution and I was really, really happy about that. And so it just sold in Portugal just recently and in China. And I think now we're seeing if the Middle East is interested in this story as well. And so, yeah, that's kind of what it took. Just a lot of um, pitching. People assume the story has been told before because I don't know if you guys are very familiar with Sudan, but there was like a lot of stories about the lost boys of Sudan. It's very male-centered stories about and people say we've heard this before. I'm like, I don't think you have really. I don't think you've really heard it like this before. And so making the push to tell the woman's story, I felt a lot of people from my community, like all the men when we were filming, they're like, what about us? And we're like, what about you? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that eyes wide open, right? I mean, I love that we asked that question because there's many people. Entrepreneurs are passionate, artists are passionate, we have a drive inside, and then you can come up against the wall that when you want something to scale, when you want something to go bigger, when you want people to know who you are, it takes risk, it takes tire. You had $3, you were at your sister's, you're working 10 hours. That's real stuff. Like, that's real stuff. I'm
Yeah.
sure if you talk to any of the women here in entrepreneur land, that stuff's real. I don't know how many people have eaten dinner standing over the kitchen sink, but we've all done it, right? Yvonne's laughing, right? We've all done it. Or like, oh, good, pasta again tonight. You know what I mean? I call it from rice and peas, steak and lobster, rice and peas, steak and lobster. And every time you need to grow or do something else, I used to say to the kids, we're in rice and peas, and they knew what I meant, right? And so, I think that's like jazz hands, hearts, and all of the things above. That is definitely dedication to the drive, dedication to the desire, dedication to the end result. That I call that all in plus. So congratulations to you on that. And I know that I saw in the text. Let's go into talking a little bit about what it is that you're doing now, because you have a beautiful exhibition that you are, you know, that's the thing about creative people. It never stops with the thing. It's like the show's produced, it never stops with the thing, right? So tell us the next thing. And I know people are asking, where can they watch it? How can they watch it? And how that supports you, or how we can continue to support you as you continue to take this across the globe.
So I'm currently in the process of developing an exhibition. It's called Sensory Cinema. And it's going to be co-exhibiting with sort of, so each element of the film has been created in the sense of we did original composition. I was a model for a long time, so I was working with a photographer who was photographing my journey. So I had an exhibition that was going in Paris and London and things like that called Unentitled Adhel, which came out during the Who Am I series. And then we had a photo series called Catharsis, which was cutting the mother wound, separating myself from my mom and kind of trying to recreate my own identity. And so I got inspired by this exhibition that I went to in Japan, which is the Peace Museum, where they had little vignettes of people talking about what happened after the bombs kind of went down. And our date was 1984. Each woman were like, what happened when you left home? 1984. This happened, 1984. So this exhibition is a way, it's kind of a deconstructed documentary where you get to feel and kind of experience the different elements of what it took to kind of make the whole project. Because I feel that just coming in and watching a documentary, like, or watching like a 5-part series or like a 1 hour, it's like, okay, cool, like, but it doesn't touch you. You don't, and you don't get to really to experience this, because this isn't just a film. This is life, right? This is the stories of real women that had these real experiences, and that they suffered through war with, and suffered through childbirth and losing their kids, um, taking bayonets and cutting cords, and and give birthing children on the road and things like that. So I don't think that it's enough just to watch it. You need to feel it. And so um, I got connected with Loyola University. We have this beautiful visual poet named Janeba, and another yarnist. Her name is Ohani Della Ori, which is my composer that I've been working with for the last 7 years, and kind of like me. So it's still I think we're not too far off, because it's still sort of trying to figure out which all these elements, but the goal is to sort of have it as a day of, as an experience where you can walk through and kind of feel music and go listen to the little vignettes of the women having a conversation, saying this is what happened, because we had to, this project had to be Canadian, right? And so yeah, there's going to be a deconstructed project, and the whole goal is to kind of have you have empathy, to kind of educate people on empathy, and the problem with these types of stories is that sometimes it feels very other and very different and very foreign, because what do we really know about war when we're in the Western world? But I think that the universal thing is that we're all women, and we're all human beings, and we need to overcome sufferings in some type of way. And so I want to try to make this I guess the best way to describe it is make it like an experience that you can walk away with maybe a sense of understanding of what it took, and from the lens of the creator, who's the daughter and a niece, and also part of my own personal history as a South Sudanese woman. They birthed my nation and they birthed me. So we're gonna play a lot with those themes, and yeah, fingers crossed. It's going to take some time, but we're in the midst of it all now. And so hopefully by sometime next year or the year after, we'll be able to have you all come.
Yay. Oh my gosh, that is so amazing. Um, I know that you're going to be in the chat afterwards and people can ask questions. And I would definitely, put in the chat, please, where people can continue to follow you. And obviously you're going to send that us, and we'll be putting that out in our media outlets as well. But
I haven't brought this out yet, honestly, because
okay.
no, I'm saying that the project is on Omni. If you guys have Omni network, you can find it on there. It's streaming mostly on television, but the actual documentary itself, I'm not exactly sure how I want to make it available just yet. And
Hmm.
so if we have a website, katibabanat.com, which has the history there. And Deb have keep in touch with her about more information of where you can see it. But right now I'm kind of keeping it a little bit low key until I'm ready to really bring it in, because when I go in, I want it to blow up. So let's just repeat.
Okay, so we're just streaming to maybe 5 people. We won't tell them. So, anyways, put that website. Joanne's laughing, from Ireland. So put that in the chat, whatever you want, and obviously communication and conversation. Um, shall we just do a beautiful blessing? Thank you, Adele. Is there anything else that you want to say before we kind of give you some love?
I just want to say thank you, everybody, for continuing to tell your own stories, and for you know, trying to make a voice for yourselves. I wish you nothing but the best, and I wish you luck in your journey as entrepreneurs. And don't forget to sleep. I think Yvonne is a sleep coach. She was saying something about that, and I was like, "You're the most needed human being that I've ever met." So that's all.
I think that's Joanne, but she is definitely a leadership coach as well. So thank you. Let's do some love. Let's do some jazz hands. Let's do some hearts.